Okay guys, just a few more quick things that I forgot to put in the last video. While I was reviewing this one, I actually made some notes. The first thing I want to say is I misspoke. I said the guy who did the post on HondaCivicWagon.com was Hades. It wasn't. He's one of the administrators. He was just one of the posts that I remember. That must be why it stuck in my head. The actual guy who made contact with Rockford was Pandora's Box. So I want to give credit where credit's due. This is the guy that got me the information that I needed to have to help out this customer. So I really appreciate that. I really appreciate you doing the legwork on that initially, and all you other guys that called and harassed Rockford and got him to tool up and actually make the right parts. I do appreciate that. Another thing I want to bring up is I haven't said the name of this shop, and I don't intend to. I don't know what HondaCivicWagon.com's rules are about advertising, and I'm not trying to plug this shop because I don't own this shop. I just work here, but I like to help people out and share knowledge as best I can. And I don't see where this is really going to carve into much of our business. Helping somebody out with a little bit of the proper information to work on their own vehicle. So I don't really have a problem doing this, but I'm not going to plug the shop specifically. You guys can, if you guys want to do this to your own vehicles, and you've got to get these parts on Rockford's website, or you can give Rockford a call and they can tell you who the dealers are in your area. I do want to say up front that if you're in the least bit trepidatious about doing any of this kind of work, don't do it. And don't necessarily just take it to any mechanic, okay? Just any mechanic isn't going to specialize in drive shafts, okay? I end up dumping on mechanics a lot because I see, the joke at the shop here is mechanics are our best customers because mechanics screw stuff up every day, okay? Obviously there's thousands of really, really good mechanics that do really good work, okay? There's a lot of borderline meth heads that are fucking idiots too, okay? So you really got to pick and choose who you take your stuff to. If you've got to trust a mechanic and you know he's good, then go ahead and take it to him. But there's really no substitute for a driveline shop, which is what I do here, because I have the luxury of specializing. Okay, I don't have to know anything about alternators, starters, body work, anything. All I work on is drive shafts. Okay, day in, day out, changing U-joints, building drive shafts, fixing, retubing. That's all I do. Okay, I don't have to be familiar with 20 different brands of cars. This is all I do. So stuff like this you really ought to take to a specialist, okay? If you're uncomfortable doing it yourself. Another thing I'll say is that, like, this drive shaft has got 3 joints in it, and they're going to be kind of expensive, guys. These joints are probably going to run you about $30 a piece, okay? If you need 3 for the drive shaft, get 4, okay? That's what I do, okay? Don't ever get just enough U-joints to do the job, because if you've got just enough, guaranteed, these snap rings are really small and they're really strong, and if one of them pings off when you're not ready for it, it's going to find the heaviest thing in your garage and it's going to land behind it. It's going to go completely out of sight, you're going to drop or shatter a needle, and then you're out of luck. Right now, if you've just got another joint, you could rob a cap off and stick it on there, then you're good to go. So, you know, just think this out a little bit. If you're not completely comfortable, look at all the pictures, watch all these videos, and if there's anything about this you're not comfortable with or you don't think you can tackle it, don't do it. I know it's inconvenient to take your car or take the drive shaft out and bring it to a driveline shop. I know it's inconvenient to take your whole car to a mechanic and not have it for a couple of days, but it's going to be really inconvenient if you screw it up and then you have to try to find a whole new drive shaft somewhere. And it really pains me when somebody brings in a drive shaft that they've tried to fix themselves, or their buddy tried to help them fix, and now it's screwed up, and now what could have potentially been a cheap repair now gets very, very, very expensive. So if you have any doubts in your mind whatsoever, I strongly recommend that you take it to either a good mechanic that you have personal experience with, or take it to a driveline shop that you can check around and get good reviews of. Okay, so there's going to be a driveline shop somewhere in your area. They might not be in the phone book, but ask around. They're there. Let's see, what else is on my list? Oh, fan noise. When I was watching it on the video, I could hear it in the background. It's kind of a buzz. I've got a bunch of fans going in here because I can't have the bay doors open because it's Saturday, and everybody will think we're open, and I won't be able to keep people out of here. So I've got the place closed up, and this place is like a giant easy bake oven, so it's hot as hell in here. That's why I've got to have the fans on. in the vein of not doing this if you're not completely comfortable with it, these parts, since these joints aren't designed to be replaceable, they don't sell these parts. Okay, so if you stave up one of these yokes, or you damage a part of this driveline, you're not just going to be able to go and get another one. Now, you might be able to find one in the junkyard and punch the stave joint out of it and reuse it, but it's not going to be anything that typically a shop like me is going to be able to get you. So you need to take good care of your parts and not damage them. Okay, if the joint is so bad already that it's already failed and it's not just seized, it's actually been pounding around. I have something like that on my bench, but if it's already banged around so bad that it's damaged the yoke, you're kind of screwed. You got to go find another one anyway, at least to salvage parts off it or rebuild that one. So don't damage the parts, and we're going to go over that some more when I show you the proper way to set up a drive shaft, the proper way to cradle it, and the appropriate places to hit it. It is okay to hit a drive shaft, you just got to hit it in the right spot. Just a quick word about safety. We're going to be using hammers and punches and screwdrivers and snap rings. I've been blessed with bad vision, so I wear my safety glasses all the time and I don't even have to think about it. If you still got good vision and you still got two eyes, get some safety glasses and wear the fucking things, because there's just, I'm telling you, I've had stuff in my eye and had to go to the hospital to get stuff dug out of my eye, and it's not fun. Okay, it sucks, and if I ever have to go through that again, it'll be too soon. So keep the safety glasses on, guys. This brings me to another good point. In case you haven't noticed, I tend to swear a little bit. I swear actually way too much, and I'm trying to curb it right now, because I do know that I'm going to post these on YouTube, and I do know there's a wide variety of people on YouTube. So, but I will say this probably isn't going to be safe for work, and it's probably not the best thing to show your kids, especially if you're offended by the odd shit, fuck, or whatever else is going to pop out of my mouth. So I apologize for that, but it's just the way it is, and like I say, I can't edit this, so you're kind of on your own. As you can see here, I've got the shaft up. I've got a workbench to work on. I got a nice heavy-duty vise. I've got this cradle. I've got another one down here that's out of frame that you can't see. This is where I see a lot of damage inadvertently done by mechanics and by homeowners trying to change their own joints. They're concentrating on this end and they're not paying attention to what the rest of the shaft's doing, and they've got it laying over the edge of the bench or on a piece of steel, and every time they bang on this end, it bounces, and it's doing damage to the tube. Once you damage this tube, if you just put, over a distance like this, if you put one little kink in the middle, that drastically changes the run out on both ends, and especially in the middle, and the thing's going to shake like hell. And the only solution for it is to have it re-tubed. Okay? Don't ever grab any drive shaft by the tubing. And by that I mean stick it in the vise by the tubing and try to hold it like that. You'll damage the tubing. There's no two ways around it. If you've got a solid piece of shaft like this on this end, that's okay. But grab it by the weld. Okay, if it's a type of drive shaft that has the rolled seam, it's probably not serviceable anyway, but that's also a reasonably good place to grab it. But there's nice heavy-duty welds here, and that means that there's a collar on that yoke underneath the tubing. That's the best place to grab it. We'll go over that some more as I'm going to be doing some shots right here on the vise. For these U-joints, the staked-in replacement U-joints, on Rockford's site, and I'm going to try to provide a link, if I can figure out how to do that on YouTube, to Rockford Driveline's site. There's also a sub-page that's occasionally a little hard to find that has the listing of all of Rockford's staked-in replacement U-joints, with the exception of the Honda Civic ones, because they just came out with them. And there's also a sub-page from that is Rockford's version of the directions for doing it. And it is pretty good directions. They're a little bit vague. They leave out a few important things, in my opinion. So, but I'm going to give you the link to that so you can see what it is, and in addition to the stuff that I'm going to tell you. The last thing I'm going to get into is, as you can see, I've got the whole drive shaft here still assembled on the bench. Since I'm not going to be touching this joint, I didn't want to take anything apart. In your garage or in your driveway or in your bathroom or wherever you're going to decide to do this, it's not going to be convenient for you most likely to have the whole thing in one piece, and you're going to want to take it apart. If you do take it apart, it's very, very, very important that you mark the drive shaft how it came apart. Use a paint pen, use a Sharpie, use a center punch, whatever you got to do, but make sure you get the thing back together the way it was. Because if you don't and you put it together an inappropriate phasing, it might vibrate, and then you're just going to have to keep taking the thing apart and putting it back together until the vibration goes away, and that's a pain in the butt. It's way easier to just mark it for proper phasing and put it back together the way it came apart. Also, when down here where we're gonna be taking this yoke apart, mark it. Put several marks on, because you're probably going to destroy one or wipe it off when you're in the process of changing the joint. Excuse me, jeez. Breakfast is really talking back today. So put multiple marks on, and I'll go into some more little tips for getting things put back together the right way. But if you do something to this and it vibrates, I'm not going to be able to balance it. Like, I have a drive shaft balancer, but this drive shaft has 2 center bearings, and I only have 1 center bearing rest. Now, if the driveline shop in your area has the provision and has experience doing limousine shafts, they probably have a balancer that has multiple center bearing rests, but then it becomes a problem of fixtures for the end, and I have to have a proper flange, basically just like the flange that you have on the car, that this bolts up to, that will go into my machine, and I don't have the flanges for this. So if you do get a vibration, you're kind of on your own. So take good care of this. Just be a little bit smart about it. And if you do have to take anything apart, make sure you get it back together the right way. That should be about it for basic information. I'm going to get this thing flipped around and start trying to set up for the next shot to show you how to take the joint out, and we'll go from there. All right, guys.